Welcome back to the Essential Health Podcast. Today, we are diving into a topic that sits at the very heart of how we experience aging, nutrition. But specifically, how the rules of nutrition can feel like they've been completely rewritten the moment we cross the threshold of 50. To help us navigate this, I am so thrilled to welcome our guest today, Dr. David Sinclair. Dr. David is a nutrition scientist and a leading voice in the field of gerontology, which is the study of healthy aging. He's dedicated his career to understanding how we can use food to build longer, healthier, and more vibrant lives. Dr. David, welcome to the podcast.
Dr. Anya, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for opening up this crucial conversation.
I want to start with a story, one that I hear in my practice almost every single day. A patient of mine, a wonderful woman, 55 years old, came to my office last month, and she was truly at her wit's end. She sat down, and with tears in her eyes, she said, "Dr. Anya, I don't understand what's happening. I am eating less than I did in my 30s. I walk every day. I'm doing everything right, everything I've been told to do my whole life, and I have gained 15 pounds in the last 2 years, almost all of it right here." And then she said the words that just break my heart. "It feels like my body has betrayed me." Dr. David, I know she is not alone in that feeling. For so many of us, women and men, what is happening? Why does it feel like the laws of physics have suddenly stopped applying to our bodies after 50?
She is absolutely not alone, and that feeling of betrayal is so real, so palpable. But the first thing I want her and everyone listening to understand is this: your body has not betrayed you. Your biology is not broken. What has betrayed you is the nutritional rulebook you've been following.
The rulebook? Say more about that.
The advice we were all given in our 20s and 30s, calories in, calories out. Focus on low fat. A little cardio will solve everything. That was a rulebook written for a different biological reality. It was for a body with a high metabolism, stable hormones, and an efficient system for building and maintaining muscle. But the body of a 55 or 65-year-old is operating under a completely new set of physiological laws. Our ability to process sugar changes. Our capacity to synthesize protein from the food we eat declines. Our hormonal environment is completely different. So to continue following that old, outdated rulebook is like trying to navigate a new city with a map from 30 years ago. You will get frustrated, you will get lost, and you will inevitably end up in the wrong place. The problem isn't your effort, the problem is the map.
So what you're saying is we need a new map? A new rulebook written for the body we have today.
Precisely. And the good news is we have that new map. The science of nutrition for aging has exploded in the last decade. We now understand the new rules. It's not about restriction or deprivation. It's about a strategic shift in priorities. It's about learning what your body truly needs now to thrive.
Okay, then that is our mission for this episode. We are going to tear up that old, frustrating map. Dr. David, I want you to walk us through the new rulebook. You've structured this around what you call the 3 new non-negotiable pillars of nutrition for thriving after 50. We're going to cover how to protect our strength and metabolism, how to fortify our brain against cognitive decline, and how to get the crucial vitamins and minerals our bodies are now struggling to absorb. For everyone listening who has felt that frustration in front of the mirror, this is the conversation that will finally provide clarity. Let's start with the first, and what you argue is the most important pillar of them all. Dr. David, you've said that if people only take one thing away from our conversation today, it should be an understanding of this first pillar. It's a topic I think many of us, especially women, have been conditioned to overlook. Let's talk about the absolute priority of protein.
Absolutely. For anyone over the age of 50, protein is not just a macronutrient, it is the cornerstone of your entire health span and your independence. And to understand why, we first have to talk about the silent epidemic that is happening as we age. It's a condition called sarcopenia.
Can you define that for us? It's a word we're starting to hear more, but I don't think people truly grasp its significance.
Sarcopenia is the progressive, age-related loss of skeletal muscle mass and strength. It starts quietly in our 30s, but it accelerates dramatically after 50. Think of it this way. Your muscle is your longevity organ. It is the physical armor that protects you from the world. It is your metabolic engine. It is the single largest site in your body for disposing of blood sugar. When you lose muscle, you don't just get weaker. Your metabolism slows to a crawl, your risk of developing diabetes skyrockets, and your stability vanishes, making you incredibly vulnerable to a life-altering fall. I had a patient, a wonderful man named Robert, who came to see me at 68. He was a retired carpenter, a man who'd worked with his hands his whole life. He said to me, "David, I can't even carry the groceries from the car in one trip anymore. Last week I tripped on a rug in my own home and I couldn't get up without my wife's help." The fear in his eyes was not about weakness. It was about the loss of his independence. That is the reality of sarcopenia.
That's a terrifyingly clear picture. So many people just accept that as a normal part of getting old. What is the direct link between this muscle loss and our protein intake?
This is where the old rule book completely fails us. For years, the recommended daily allowance, the RDA for protein, has been about 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight. That number is not the optimal amount. It is the bare minimum to prevent a deficiency disease in a young, sedentary person. For an older adult, it is catastrophically inadequate because of a process called anabolic resistance.
Let's break that down. Anabolic means to build, right?
Exactly. Anabolic resistance means that as we age, our muscles become less sensitive, less responsive to the signal from protein. Imagine you're trying to call a friend. When you were 30, you could just whisper their name, eat a small amount of protein, and they would hear you and come running. Your muscles would start to build. But now at 60, that same friend is a little hard of hearing. You have to speak up. You have to yell their name just to get the same response. So while a 30-year-old might be able to get a good muscle building signal from 15 or 20 grams of protein in a meal, an older adult might need 30, 35, or even 40 grams of protein in a single meal to overcome that resistance and flip the switch for muscle protein synthesis.
Wow, so you're saying we actually need more protein per meal as we get older, not less. That's the opposite of what so many people believe. They start eating smaller, lighter meals as they age.
It's the most common mistake I see, and it's devastating. That small salad with a sprinkle of chicken for lunch is a recipe for sarcopenia. It's simply not enough protein to overcome the anabolic resistance of aging. The whisper of protein is never heard by the muscle.
This brings up a huge point of confusion, especially for my female patients. They hear high protein and they immediately think, I don't want to get bulky, I'm not a bodybuilder. Can you speak to that fear?
I'm so glad you brought that up. It is one of the most persistent and damaging myths in women's health. Let me be unequivocally clear. For a woman over 50, unless you are taking anabolic steroids, it is biologically almost impossible for you to get bulky in a masculine way. Your hormonal environment, particularly with lower estrogen and testosterone, will not allow for that kind of massive muscle growth. What will happen when you eat enough protein and do strength training is that your muscles will become denser, stronger, and more defined. You will not look like a bodybuilder. You will look strong. You will look toned. You will have the arms to lift your own suitcase into the overhead bin. You will have the leg strength to get up and down from the floor with your grandkids. You will have a faster metabolism and a more stable blood sugar. You are building a resilient, capable body, not a bulky one.
So let's get tactical. You've convinced us. What is the new rule? What is the prescription for protein?
It's very simple and it's very powerful. The goal is to aim for a minimum of 30 grams of high-quality protein with every meal. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You want to hit that muscle-building threshold multiple times a day.
What does 30 grams of protein actually look like on a plate? Can you give us some real-world examples?
Of course, it's more than you think, but it's very attainable. It's a piece of chicken or salmon that's about the size of your palm and the thickness of your palm. It's about 1 cup of Greek yogurt mixed with a scoop of high-quality protein powder. It's a large 4-egg omelet with some cheese for plant-based eaters. It's a bit tougher, but it can be done. It's about 1.5 cups of lentils or chickpeas combined with a grain like quinoa. This is where a good plant-based protein shake can be incredibly helpful. I had another patient, Eleanor, who she was 72 years old, and she felt like she was fading away. She was eating mostly toast for breakfast, soup for lunch. We did one thing. We added a high-quality whey protein shake to her breakfast to guarantee she started her day with 30 grams of protein. Just that one change. Within 2 months, she told me she had the energy to join a community gardening club. She was rebuilding her foundation one meal at a time.
So the new rule is not eat less. The new rule is prioritize protein at every meal. It's a shift from thinking about restriction to thinking about fortification.
That is the perfect way to say you are not dieting. You are fortifying your strength. You are building your armor for the decades to come. And that work starts with your very next meal.
Dr. David, that was a truly paradigm-shifting explanation of protein. It feels like we've just rebuilt the first, most important wall of our fortress. Now I want to turn our attention from the physical fortress of the body to the control tower, the brain. This is, without a doubt, one of the biggest sources of fear for my patients. It's not just the brain fog we talked about earlier. It's the senior moments. It's forgetting a name, losing your keys, and having that cold, terrifying whisper in the back of your mind that asks, is this the beginning of the end? Am I losing myself? How much of our cognitive destiny is truly in our hands, and how much is just bad luck?
That is the question, isn't it? And while genetics certainly play a role, the science is becoming overwhelmingly clear that our lifestyle, and particularly our nutrition, is a profoundly powerful lever in determining our brain's destiny. We have far more control than we've been led to believe. But to exercise that control, most of us first have to unlearn a huge, damaging lie that an entire generation was taught.
And what is that lie?
The lie is that fat is the enemy. Specifically, that dietary fat is the enemy of a healthy heart and a healthy body. For almost 40 years, from the 1980s onward, we were subjected to the low-fat craze. We were told to replace butter with margarine, to eat low-fat cookies and Smackwells, to trim every last bit of fat from our meat. It was a massive, uncontrolled public health experiment, and frankly, it was a disaster. It led to an explosion in sugar and refined carbohydrate consumption, which we now know is a primary driver of metabolic disease. But the most tragic, overlooked victim of the low-fat craze was our brain. Our brain is the fattest organ in our body. It is nearly 60% fat. It is literally built from the dietary fats we eat. To starve it of those essential building blocks, especially during midlife, when it's already navigating hormonal shifts, is a recipe for cognitive decline.
So when we were diligently eating our low-fat yogurts and avoiding egg yolks, we were inadvertently starving our brains of the very material they needed to repair and maintain themselves.
That's exactly right. And we now know that not all fats are created equal. The highly processed inflammatory vegetable oils that replaced healthy fats are actively damaging. But there is a specific category of fats that are not just not bad, but are so essential to brain health that I consider them non-negotiable. I'm talking about omega-3 fatty acids. I had a patient, a brilliant 62-year-old lawyer named Susan. She came to me because she was struggling at work. She said, "David, I used to be the sharpest person in the room. I could recall case law from 20 years ago. Now I find myself struggling to follow complex arguments in a meeting. I feel slow." She was terrified because her mind was her career. She was eating a healthy, low-fat diet just like she'd been told to.
Her diet was almost completely devoid of these crucial omega-3s.
Let's get specific. What are omega-3s and where do we find them?
Think of omega-3s as the superstars of the fat world. The most important one for your brain is called DHA. DHA is a primary structural component of your cerebral cortex, the part of your brain responsible for memory, language, and high-level thought. It is literally the bricks and mortar of your brain cells. When you have enough DHA, your brain cell membranes are fluid and flexible, and the signals can pass between them at lightning speed. When you are deficient, those membranes become stiff and brittle. The communication slows down. That is the biological reality of brain fog. But omega-3s do something else just as important. They are the most powerful anti-inflammatory compounds in our diet. We now understand a concept called inflammaging, a low-grade chronic state of inflammation that drives much of age-related disease. This happens in the brain too. And omega-3s are the fire department, constantly putting out those small inflammatory fires before they can cause real damage.
So where do we get these miracle fats?
The best, most bioavailable source is from cold water fatty fish. I tell my patients to remember the acronym SMASH: salmon, mackerel, anchovies, sardines, and herring. Aiming to eat a serving of one of these fish 2 to 3 times a week is a powerful strategy. For my plant-based patients, the best sources are flax seeds, chia seeds, and walnuts, but the conversion to usable VHA is less efficient, so a high-quality algae-based DHA supplement is often a very smart idea.
So we've busted the low-fat myth. We're prioritizing smart fats from fish and nuts. What else can we do? Is there a simple framework people can follow?
There is, and it's called the MIND diet, and it's one of the most well-researched dietary patterns for preventing cognitive decline. It's beautiful in its simplicity. It essentially combines the best of the Mediterranean diet with a specific emphasis on 10 brain-protective food groups. I won't list all 10, but the pillars are simple. Leafy greens, kale, spinach, every single day they are packed with brain-protective nutrients. Berries, especially blueberries, they are antioxidant powerhouses. Nuts, a handful of walnuts or almonds a day for healthy fats and vitamin E. Olive oil, use it as your primary cooking oil. And, of course, fatty fish. I gave this simple framework to Susan, the lawyer. We got her eating salmon 3 times a week, a big handful of walnuts in her oatmeal, and a massive spinach salad every day. 6 months later, she came back to my office. She said, "David, the fog is gone. I feel sharp again. I feel like myself." She didn't go on a restrictive diet. She just changed her priorities. She started feeding her brain.
That's a fantastic, hopeful story. So the takeaway isn't to be afraid of fat, but to be incredibly selective about the fats we choose.
Precisely. Eliminate the inflammatory processed vegetable oils found in most packaged foods and passionately embrace the brain-building anti-inflammatory power of omega-3s from fish, nuts, and seeds. You are not just eating for your body, you are eating for your mind. And that is an investment with a return that is truly priceless.
Dr. David, we've rebuilt our understanding of protein and fat, which is incredible. But now I want to turn to a topic that I think is the single greatest source of confusion for my patients: supplements. The aisle in the health food store is a mile long. The internet is full of conflicting advice. It's overwhelming. If you could cut through all that noise, for a woman or a man over 50, where do we even begin? Are there a few non-negotiables?
It is a jungle out there, and you're right to feel overwhelmed. The supplement industry is full of exaggerated claims and poor quality products, but that doesn't mean we should throw the baby out with the bathwater. When used intelligently, a few key targeted micronutrients are not just helpful. For an aging body, I consider them absolutely essential. But first, we have to understand why. The core issue is a simple biological fact. As we age, our digestive system becomes less efficient.
I had a patient, a wonderful 70-year-old woman named Margaret, who brought me her food diary. She was eating a beautiful, healthy diet, lots of vegetables, lean protein, but her blood work showed she was deficient in several key nutrients. She was eating the right things, but her body was no longer able to effectively absorb them. Her stomach acid production had declined, which is very common, and that was hindering her ability to break down food and extract the vitamins. This is the reality for many of us. We can't just rely on our food to do all the work anymore. We need reinforcements.
So it's an absorption problem. That's a huge aha moment right there. So, given that reality, what are the top tier, most critical reinforcements we should be considering?
I call them the big three for aging because they are tied to the most significant health risks we face: weak bones, low energy, and poor nerve function. They are vitamin D, vitamin B12, and calcium.
Let's start with vitamin D. We hear a lot about it, especially regarding the immune system, but why is it so crucial for this stage of life?
I call vitamin D the master key or the gatekeeper for your bone health. It is without question one of the most important molecules in the body. You could be eating all the calcium-rich foods in the world: yogurt, cheese, leafy greens. But if your vitamin D levels are low, that calcium is like a package that gets delivered to your front door, but no one is home to let it inside. It can't get into your system to do its job. Vitamin D is the hormone that literally opens the door in your gut and allows calcium to be absorbed into your bloodstream and then deposited into your bones. Almost every single person I test who lives in a northern climate and doesn't supplement is deficient in vitamin D, especially in the winter. And for a postmenopausal woman, a vitamin D deficiency is a direct path to osteoporosis. It is that serious. Beyond bones, it's also critical for mood regulation and immune function. For me, this is the one supplement that is truly non-negotiable for virtually everyone over 50.
So, what should people be looking for? What's the right dose?
The key is to get your levels tested by your doctor to know your starting point. But for most adults, a daily maintenance dose of 2,000 to 4,000 IU of vitamin D3, not D2, which is less effective, taken with a meal that contains some fat for better absorption, is a very safe and effective strategy.
Okay, that's incredibly clear. Let's move on to the next one, which you mentioned is also tied to absorption issues: vitamin B12.
Yes, if you've been feeling that heavy, dragging fatigue we talked about, or you've noticed strange tingling sensations in your hands or feet, that could be a sign of a B12 deficiency. Vitamin B12 is absolutely essential for the health of your nervous system. It helps maintain the protective myelin sheath around your nerves, and it's a key player in the production of red blood cells, which carry oxygen and energy around your body. Here's the problem. In our food, B12 is tightly bound to protein. To cleave it off, to separate it so you can absorb it, you need strong stomach acid. As I mentioned with my patient Margaret, stomach acid production naturally declines as we age. It's also suppressed by very common acid-blocking medications that millions of people take. So you could be eating a steak or a piece of fish rich in B12, but if you can't cleave it from the protein, it passes right through you.
So, what's the solution? How do we bypass that problem?
This is where the form of the supplement is everything. You need a form of B12 that is already in its free, unbound state. The most effective forms for older adults are methylcobalamin or adenosylcobalamin. These are the active forms of B12 that your body can use immediately, no stomach acid required. They are far superior to the cheaper, more common cyanocobalamin form you see in many generic multivitamins. You can take it as a sublingual lozenge that dissolves under your tongue or a simple capsule.
And this brings us to the final member of the trio, the one everyone thinks they know: calcium. But I have a feeling there are nuances here we're missing.
Huge nuances. For decades, the advice to postmenopausal women was simply take a big dose of calcium carbonate to protect your bones. We now know that advice was not just incomplete, it could be potentially harmful.
Harmful? How so?
Taking a large Unchaperoned dose of calcium, especially the poorly absorbed calcium carbonate form, is like having a big delivery of bricks dropped off on your street with no construction worker to tell them where to go. Those bricks can end up in the wrong place. We're talking about calcification of the arteries, which can increase the risk of heart disease, or the formation of kidney stones. It's a real concern. Calcium does not work alone. It needs a team. We already met the first team member, vitamin D, the gatekeeper, who lets the calcium into the body. But there's another crucial team member, vitamin K2. Think of vitamin K2 as the traffic cop. Once vitamin D gets the calcium into the bloodstream, it's vitamin K2 that directs those calcium bricks out of the soft tissues like your arteries and ensures they get deposited in the right place, your bones and teeth. So the modern intelligent approach to bone health is not just about megadosing calcium, it's about the synergy of the team. Get calcium from your diet first, dairy, sardines with the bones, tofu, leafy greens. If you do supplement, choose a more absorbable form like calcium citrate. And critically, ensure that supplement also contains vitamin D3 and vitamin K2, specifically the MK7 form. Never take one without the others. That is the safe and effective way to fortify your foundation.
So, the new rule for supplements is not just about what you take, but about the form, the team, and the synergy.
That's exactly it. Be intelligent, be strategic, and as with always advise, Anya, please, everyone, talk to your own doctor. Get your levels tested and create a personalized plan. This is about building a foundation for a long, strong, and vibrant life.
Dr. David, this has been an incredibly illuminating conversation. We've journeyed through the science of sarcopenia, the myths of the low-fat craze, and the complex world of micronutrients. I feel like we've torn up that old, outdated nutritional map that was causing so much frustration for so many of us. Now, I want to bring it all together. For the woman listening right now who is feeling overwhelmed but is ready to take the first step, let's crystallize everything we've discussed into a new, clear, and actionable plan. As I was listening, I heard you lay out not just one solution, but a complete lifestyle philosophy. I've been thinking of them as the 4 pillars of stability.
That's a perfect way to frame it, Anya. It's not about a single hack, it's about building a strong, stable foundation for the rest of your life.
Okay, so let's walk through them. Pillar number 1, and the one you said was the absolute top priority, is nutrition, but a very specific kind. Can you summarize the new rule for nutrition after 50?
The new rule is simple. Shift your focus from calorie counting to blood sugar balance. Every single meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, should be built around a core of protein, healthy fat, and fiber. When you eat this way, you prevent the dramatic blood sugar spikes and crashes that drive cravings, mood swings, and fat storage. You are creating a stable internal environment.
And within that, the absolute non-negotiable is hitting that protein target to fight sarcopenia, correct?
Correct. Aiming for at least 30 grams of protein per meal is the goal. This is not about dieting, it's about sending a powerful signal to your body to preserve and build your precious, metabolically active muscle. It is an act of fortification.
I love that. Fortification, not restriction. Okay, pillar number 2, movement. You had a very specific prescription here as well, moving us away from what many of us thought was the right way to exercise.
Yes, the old rule was more cardio. The new, smarter rule is build, don't punish. Your primary focus for movement must shift to strength training. Lifting heavy things, weights, your body weight, is the single most effective signal you can send to your body to maintain muscle and bone density. And complement this with calming movement, like a daily walk. This helps manage your cortisol levels, which, as we know, is the anxious alarm technician in your brain. You're strategically using movement to build your physical armor and soothe your nervous system.
Pillar number 3 is one I think people overlook, but it's where the real magic happens. Let's call it mindful pauses, or what I like to call the nervous system reset.
This is absolutely essential. For a body running on a hair trigger of cortisol, we must intentionally practice putting it into a calm, rest, and digest state. This isn't a luxury, it's a medical necessity. Scheduling just 2 5-minute pauses into your day to simply sit and focus on your breath is a profound intervention. You are training your brain and your body to find their way back to a state of safety and calm. It's like a daily reset for your entire system.
And that brings us to the final crucial pillar, one that is so close to my own heart as a physician: building your professional team.
You cannot and should not have to figure all this out alone. The modern approach is to become the CEO of your own health and to hire a brilliant advisory board. This means finding a therapist to help you navigate the profound emotional shifts of this life stage. And it means finding a menopause-literate doctor or practitioner. You deserve a healthcare partner who listens, who validates your experience, and who works with you to create a personalized plan. That plan should include these foundational pillars, and it should also include an honest conversation about all the tools in the toolbox, from targeted supplementation to hormone therapy. It's about partnership, not prescription.
So, to summarize the new map: 1. Nourish for blood sugar balance, prioritizing protein. 2. Move for strength and calm, prioritizing resistance training. 3. Pause to deliberately reset your nervous system. And 4. Partner with professionals who can guide you on your journey. Dr. David, that is an incredibly clear, empowering, and hopeful plan. It feels less like a diet and more like a blueprint for a vibrant life.
That's exactly what it is. This is not about chasing the body you had at 30. It's about building the strongest, most resilient, and most capable body for the incredible decades you have ahead of you.